The title of this video sounds dramatic. We know what works on YouTube and what fails. Fear sells, but this video is not about selling you an exaggerated version of events that point to America's downfall. Instead, this is a real, powerful story backed by history and validated by data right in front of our eyes. We are currently living in an era that will surely be highlighted in the history books. America has begun to recover from the world's most significant pandemic in nearly 100 years. Real estate is booming, prices are surging, and the economy, according to the stock market, is headed towards nirvana. The question on everyone's mind, is this too good to be true? Can we really just print trillions of dollars and buy our way out of a pandemic, or are we in the largest bubble known to man? Dancing on a knife's edge within a bubble that once popped will usher in a world of depression, violence, and despair. To answer this great question, I bring you this man. This right here is Lawrence Henry Summers. He's the man who laughed off the Winklevoss twins in the Facebook movie as then president of Harvard. But more importantly, he is the former US Secretary of Treasury under the Clinton administration. Mr. Summers recently appeared on Bloomberg to give out some of his opinions in regards to the events unfolding right in front of our eyes. Now pay close attention to his words as it sets the foundation for the main argument in regards to this video.
So Larry, this week we saw the end of the first half of 2021, and for investors it was a pretty good one by and large. I mean, the S&P 500 was up 15%. We had the 10-year rate going from just under 1.0 up to 1.5, but still staying fairly contained, and oil went up from like $49 to $75. What should investors be looking at in the second half? And maybe more important, what do you think they might be missing?
Look, I think they are looking at inflation. They should be looking at inflation. It's no secret to your listeners that I think that the conventional wisdom is behind the curve on inflation, and nothing I see in the data flow has changed my mind about that. It's actually probably reinforced my convictions. But there's a broader phenomenon, David, which I like to call the throw in the towel theory. The most dangerous moments in markets are when people are worried they're too high. They lighten their positions, they sell short in some cases, and then the market keeps going up, and they throw in the towel, and then other people decide it's too high, and they lose money, and they throw in the towel. And so it's precisely when all the pessimism has been beaten out of the system that markets are most vulnerable.
So here we have Lawrence directly stating that, quote, conventional wisdom is behind, and he's talking about inflation directly. It's very apparent by his words that he's worried things could get out of control and the Fed should be more concerned about it. If we review what happened in the last 16 months, two large events are putting economists in the hot seat, stretching the limits of Keynesian economics. One of those large events is the money supply increase. This is a topic that on the surface is extremely complex, but beneath it all, it's a simple mechanism that even a child could figure out. As you may know, the United States Federal Reserve has the power to print money. We can complicate this by breaking down the entire process, but in this video, I'm going to keep it extremely simple. If you want to know more about how money printing actually works, YouTube has plenty of videos on the subject. But keeping it simple, the Fed prints, and recently it's been printing record-breaking amounts of money. Money that is being used to finance pandemic relief, to buy up government bonds, and even securities like MBSs. You know, those special derivatives that brought down the entire market in 2007? This chart shows you just how much we've printed in these last 18 months. Now the childish question would be the one that everyone is afraid to ask in a classroom. If the government can just print to fund things, why limit us to a couple trillion? Let's put these printers on overdrive and make everyone rich. And of course, the answer to that is inflation. By doing something like that, you'll devalue the entire currency, making it worthless. But this childish question and this serious answer is beginning to puzzle a lot of people. We just printed trillions of dollars. We gave most US citizens thousands in free cash, yet the Federal Reserve claims inflation is in check, and we've got nothing to worry about. So what's the limit? If that's really true, why are we stopping here? Let's solve poverty, let's give everyone the health care they deserve, and while we're at it, let's pay off mortgages and bail out the common man. That to many people sounds crazy and uneducated, but at the end of the day, the data proves that either the Fed is lying or we have not even begun to approach the limits of what can be funded via the printer. According to them, the official inflation rate stands at 5% annualized. But look around at all other assets and you begin seeing a crisis unfolding before our eyes. The biggest one being real estate. I've talked many times on this channel about the price of a single family home. The price this year is up around 20%. That's just 1 year. This is a massive price change, and if it continues for much longer, even the lowest end houses will become unaffordable to the majority of Americans. We laughed at the K-shaped recovery, but even by Federal Reserve measures, the top 1% have profited immensely from this situation. Top officials like Summers are directly stating that the housing situation alone is, quote, scary. That is not something you hear every day from individuals who are careful to craft their words in order not to spook markets and investors. Take a listen to his exact words, but before I show you if you are truly enjoying the content, please consider hitting that subscribe button and helping out the channel. Now back to the video.
And finally, third subject, housing prices. They came out this week, and the Case-Shiller was up the most it's been up in 30 years. We got something of a housing boom, if not a bubble. What do you make of that?
I think this is scary. I think rising house prices, in most people's common sense of the word, represent inflation, whatever exactly is showing up in some price index. My guess is that the increases we've seen are going to find their way into the price indices over the next year, even if we don't see further increases. My guess is we are going to see further increases in house prices given continuing shortages. And my guess and my judgment is that if that doesn't get reflected in the indices, it tells you something about the indices, not about the economy, and that this is surely a major indicator of substantial inflation psychology.
So there you have a former Treasury Secretary essentially begging Powell to take inflation more seriously. If you Google various YouTube videos or listen to a lot of CEOs within the real estate industry, they all claim the same thing. Lack of supply, tons of demand. But recent influxes of inventory are still not breaking prices. How can the entire situation on the ground change in just 16 months? People are now well aware, and most are not stupid. Real estate is appreciating rapidly, and selling it is rather stupid unless you're considering moving from an area that is significantly cheaper to where you are at currently. The longer prices remain elevated, the more likely this environment becomes entrenched in buyer psychology. The levels we are seeing today will quickly become normalized, and the housing market could easily lead the way in inflating other prices as well. Now back to my original open. Are these the marks of a coming crash? Well, yes and no. If I truly believed that we were moments or days or months away from a massive crash, I'd put my money where my mouth is and bet big, buying up S&P puts and inverse ETFs. But I'm not, and that's because I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I have strong evidence that the crash is coming before a certain date. Predicting when a bubble will pop is extremely difficult, and they often go much longer than expected. Even Barry's infamous housing short was years early. Sometimes things can look absolutely absurd, yet they keep pushing ahead, making bears exhausted and jealous of those that made easy money riding the bubble up. Summers explains it in detail with this last clip. He calls it the throw in the towel theory, and it explains at which point a market is most dangerous, ready to collapse and break.
But there's a broader phenomenon, David, which I like to call the throw in the towel theory. The most dangerous moments in markets are when people are worried they're too high. They lighten their positions, they sell short in some cases, and then the market keeps going up, and they throw in the towel. And then other people decide it's too high, and they lose money, and they throw in the towel. And so it's precisely when all the pessimism has been beaten out of the system that markets are most vulnerable. That's why if you looked at probably the biggest bubble ever, what happened in Japan in the 1980s.
So based on this throw in the towel theory, it's very likely that our market still has a long way to run before collapsing. If we check the infamous CNN Fear and Greed Index, we can see that the markets are cautiously optimistic in their view of the future. It's definitely not a market where the bears have been shaken out, and yet we are at record highs as of the making of this video. If we look back at Japan, as Summers quoted, we can see what is possible in a major economy. The Japanese bubble was probably the largest in modern history. And this chart captures the true magnitude of the frenzy back in the early 90s. This is the Nikkei 225, an index representing Japan's largest and best companies. Think of it as their version of the S&P 500. As you can see, the index peaked in December of 1989, and since then, nearly 32 years later, it has yet to recover back to this level. But let's look a little deeper. If we look back at the start of the 80s, the index was at 6,600. 10 years later, after one of the greatest bull runs of all time, the index stood at 39,000, a 600% return in 10 years. But how does this compare to our great S&P 500? Well, let's go back 10 years to 2011. The S&P 500 was at 1,500, and after what is considered one of the best decades for stocks in America, it today stands at 4,300, almost a 300% return. Considering interest rates are nearing zero, and many are calling for negative rates, this really isn't all too bad. In my opinion, we still have a long way to run before we get an environment where the throw in the towel theory becomes a real danger. Every bear needs to be shaken out. There needs to be pure euphoria in the markets, and it's precisely at that moment that we could fall just as Japan did. But of course, figuring out exactly when this will happen is nearly impossible. You can try to use all kinds of things to judge certain market conditions, but the sad truth is that no economist, hedge fund manager, or financial advisor really knows. Even well-respected and proven indicators that gauge market value, such as the Buffett indicator, are now to many experts seemingly broken. The market keeps chugging along despite the fact that the Buffett gauge today reads 239%, or 2.9 standard deviations above what is considered a normal, fairly valued market. By this measure, the conditions we are seeing today are so rare they occur less than 0.2% of the time. This next year will be an incredible time to observe the markets and see how various threats shape up against a powerful Federal Reserve ready to print and ease their way out of seemingly any threat, including a worldwide pandemic. In the meantime, if you're looking to diversify your holdings and maybe even buy up some crypto as a way to protect yourself against the potential inflation explosion, please consider signing up for BlockFi using my affiliate link down below in the description. I keep about $5,000 with them and earn some pretty incredible interest on both my stablecoins and crypto holdings. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, please make sure you hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed.